Hey guys, this is Andrea. Welcome back to the channel. So, hey guys, if you've been following the channel for a while, you would know what a support worker is. But this is for the new subscribers who are new to the channel. I know it's buried in the algorithm of what a support worker is. So, they can have many different names by country, but in Australia, support workers are people who work with disabled people to maintain their lives. They work within a program that is called the NDIS, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, that is then the embodiment of the NDIA, the National Disability Insurance Act. It was a piece of government legislation that brought, at a federal level, all of the disability services that were very piecemeal and state by state, aimed to give equity and a better chance at life for all. Guys, I'm not going to go into the politics of it, but I have just been on the phone to ABC, so watch that video is coming soon. But a support worker, so that is their core role, to help someone with a disability in their day-to-day life. So that might be transport, that might be community engagement, community access, that might be for someone with a physical disability, it might be personal hygiene, cleaning, maintaining a home. So in other areas of the world, I've heard Jessica Kilgard-Prozard refer to Josie as her carer. And this is starting to become a more common term because, unfortunately, due to the negative connotations around the media of support workers, that is simply due to lack of training. And so I've recently, due to some background things going on in my life, been asked, what is a good or a bad support worker? Now, these questions are very situationally dependent, but in general, a good support worker will listen to the client and the client's family. They will consider the client's best interests, so that is health interest, financial interest, and mental health. So physical health, are they linked into the right services? So if the client only has one or two caregivers, generally the idea is if you have an independent carer, you have someone who is an unpaid carer, so that could be husband, wife, sister, brother, family members. But the idea is if you have an independent support worker, is to have a team of 2 to 3. So if someone needs to attend to family, go on holidays, you're not left stranded. And support workers are designed to cover the gaps in services that family can't provide. One of the red flags I would say is that if you are finding yourself isolated from family, if you're finding yourself coerced, if you're feeling that in your cell house or SDA housing you're not feeling safe, would also be a red flag. And it might only be 1 or 2 support workers. And I would say always speak up. And if you feel that you can't speak up to your provider because of their policies, their procedures, etc., you then need to be able to take a step further. That might be your support coordinator, might be your planner, might be your LAC, it might be an advocacy service. In extreme cases, it might be the police and the lawyer. It might be ACAT as well. But a bad support worker will be out to their own gain. So that will be that if there's kickbacks in TAFE or other training organisations, they will push you into courses that you might not be capable of. Family, friends have concerns about you doing. They might try to isolate you from friends and family. They might be very judgmental about your views. Say you might be gender critical, where they're more open. Everyone is allowed their own views, but you don't expect to be verbally assaulted for stating your own views, especially in your own home. And at the end of the day, they're there to support you. You can agree to disagree, fair enough. And if you like debating, go for it. If you're not a fan of Jordan Peterson or J.K. Rowling, fair enough. But if you do support them, while they're there for that time, they need to push those views down. And I see that a lot of support workers are quite young, and so won't have the critical thinking skills to actually go and look at the research for themselves. And so this is another thing of a really good support worker I've found who's helping me to develop the blog and the YouTube a lot more and the business side of things a lot more, is she knows how to deep dive Google. She knows her way around Tor. And so a support worker needs to be matched to your level of expertise and training. I forget to eat. Yes, I know I forget to eat. But at the same time, one of her roles is to meal plan with me to make sure I have food in the fridge and the cupboard, but I'm not going over my grocery budget. And so at the end of the day, it's whatever you want to achieve as well. So it could be light house working. It could be sitting with you proofreading assignments. It could be getting you out and about. It could be, if you're at uni, proofreading assignments, asking for the accommodations, accompanying you to office hours. And this is something I've recently learned is USQ will accept a support worker as a scribe, course dependent, but always a good idea to go and introduce a support worker during office hours as well. There is also reasonable accommodations at USQ as well. And the other thing is support workers, at a minimum, need to have their Certificate 3 in disability services or be working towards that. A lot of people can get a role as a support worker and then train on the job. And this is one thing I would say, especially if you're hiring an independent person, is you can train them up for skill, but you need to hire for attitude. But a lot of support workers, independent support workers, will have been support workers for an organisation and just got pissed off with the mountains of paperwork and the policies that the NDIS was supposed to get rid of. So that might be things like very structured days for someone who doesn't need a structured day. That might be forcing the participants to go to a particular day centre. Now we have freedom of choice. We can choose to go to a day centre, to not go to a day centre. And a really, really, really good support worker will work within the limits of your funding and maximise the support you have as well. So they will care for you, essentially being an adult caregiver, taking the role of a weird combination of mother, friend, competent housekeeper. But they will also equip you with the skills to be more and more independent as life goes on. So this is one of the big things that you will see in a bad support worker, is that they will encourage what is called learnt dependence. So the person might be very capable of making a simple meal for themselves, of grocery shopping for themselves, but because they're so used to someone else doing it for them, they won't do it. And then you'll get people like myself who have been burnt so many times by support workers. I have to be at crisis point before I will ask for help. I will freely admit, in the housing facility I am in, I do clash with some of the support workers, but we agree to disagree. I'm human, they're human. I live with chronic pain. Chronic pain can make me cranky. I also have the stress of the YouTube and trying to monetize it as well. But we're now starting to see that the reviews are getting much easier to do as well. But I would encourage people that to think about what support looks like to you, what care is as well, and what you want to achieve around your NDIS goals. So they should be very focused on achieving those goals in a day-to-day manner. So breaking them down into the SMART goals philosophy. So it's SMART being small and measurable, achievable, and a time limit. There's other frameworks as well, but working towards, for me, it was health. And we've achieved one of the milestones getting me off a lot of unnecessary medication. I'm now working on one of the side effects of that medication was night eating. Now working on that by having supper closer of when I go to bed. Also working on my internet addiction of having my phone out of my room. And guys, drop it in the comments below if anyone knows where to get hold of a phone jail. I saw them over Christmas, but they are very much a Christmassy item. So, guys, as a side note, please. And so, my support workers know that sometimes watching YouTube late at night is how I cope with the chronic pain. I work for myself, so I can work late into the night and then sleep through the day. And this is something that the support workers in the house are able to work with. And yes, I do have a community access team and I have a housing team. The theory behind that being is that I am then able to separate the two, and there's the accountability. If one goes south, you can pick up the pieces with the other. I've only found that happen once when I changed from the company that I won't name to my other company that I'm quite happy with now. So that I detail in my I can't believe this just happened video, and it details the emotional abuse I went through that I didn't actually realize was emotional abuse from a support worker. She was quite young, quite naive as well, has potential to be a great support worker, but just did not get that sometimes in life you just have to agree to disagree to be able to essentially keep a paycheck and to keep a roof over your head. And this is the other thing, that if you're capable of working, and the support worker would be able to pick you up from work. And with my new community agency, we have an agreement that they will wear a uniform. I prefer it, but you might not want them to wear a uniform. So there might be a request that, especially if you're in a professional environment, you might not want yourself singled out as a person with a disability. So it might be in a professional workplace. They might be picking you up, dropping you off, etc. I've had it where support worker would walk in and announce that they're there to work, pick me up in a professional environment. That is not professional at all. They actually then ended up, through a combination of things, I did lose the job. I have been looking ever since, but am trying to make the YouTube viable. So as you can see through me explaining my journey, the support worker's role is very broad, but should be a fit for you and your family. And I say family because you do still need that family support, because the NDIS does consider family support what they call informal supports. If your family and informal supports can't support you, then they're more likely to grant you more support hours. But the challenge is, what do you do with those support hours? So be very clear on what you want from your support workers. They might work for an agency, but during that time they work for you. There might be some things where they redirect you because of your safety, your health, or their safety and their mental health, or their own budgets, but we need to be very aware of that. And they should be encouraging the direction that you want to go. So I'm looking at in the next month, because things just haven't worked the way I wanted, to record the podcast. And I'm being supported by my community agency to do that. And the other thing is that I'm starting to get my house clean and organised. And the other thing as a part of that, if you're a regular viewer, I know you're still waiting on that blog post, but I've actually had to clean up my computer. I am going to restart the Patreon and put my outtakes and clips up there as well. And guys, we need to remember that support and disability is quite a complex conversation that we're having at the moment. Can I just compliment, at the time of recording, Kelly Higgins Devine on the excellent article and talkback she did about the NDIS tax, she called it. So the inflated prices of the NDIS. She made some really great arguments there. And so I would encourage you guys to go and listen to that when it's up on the podcast apps and the websites as well, because she's only hit the tip of the iceberg. And the wastage in the NDIS is something that I'm going to be doing a very in-depth blog post about. But guys, just in finishing, support is complex. It should be based around your needs and your ratios of care. So guys, I will revisit the ratio of cares video. And for a side note for my eagle-eyed viewers, yes, I have started on some new sewing projects for Easter. And I will say happy Easter to those who celebrate. Happy Ramadan to those who have started Ramadan. And if you don't celebrate, just have a safe and happy break as well. Guys, if you can, please like, share, subscribe, and comment below what have your experiences been with support workers, because as a person with a disability, we need to speak about these experiences, as painful as they can be. If we don't speak up, those who have chosen the advocacy route, if we don't speak up, nothing essentially is going to change. So the onus is on us to realise nothing for us without us, whether that be informal or formal advocacy. We need to be inclusive of everyone and work towards the common goal. And guys, I will see you in the next video.